Hello everyone and welcome along to Betting Weekly Game Bet Match, the one tennis betting podcast and YouTube show with myself, the host, Nigel Seeley, and our senior ATP Tour handicapper, it's Sean Calvert. Now I don't know whether I can hear the rain falling on your roof.
Yeah, you can.
Sure. I can hear the rain pouring against my window here. Welcome to the grass court season.
Ugh, it's not been great, has it? I've had a shocker for this first couple of days, what with the rain delays and all the rest of it. A couple of weird results, a couple of very, very unfortunate losses. One very, very fortunate outright that got through in Mannarino. And now it's absolutely, as you say, it's absolutely hammering it down. This is an outbuilding in the garden. It's got obviously a wooden sort of roof, and you can probably hear it. Don't know whether you can hear it coming back off my mic, but it's hammering down here now. Rosmalen, they've barely finished them. They've done maybe 3 or 4 matches at the time we're speaking in 2 days. But I think the weather's looking a little bit better for the rest for the next few days anyway in both venues.
Yeah, I'm looking out the window here. It's absolutely pouring. And all across Northern Europe, the weather is absolutely atrocious. So if you're sitting in Miami Beach, sitting in Florida, hot New York, wherever you're watching this show, think of us here soldiering away, because this is the kind of weather. This is the grass court season here over in the UK and Europe.
It's Queen's next week, and that looks like a washout from what I can tell. I'm supposed to be there. Are you going? Well, supposed to be, yeah, but according to the weather forecast, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, rain. So we've said this before, haven't we? It depends how much rain they mean, and how often and when it falls and all that. But the forecast for the week in general next week, which is Queen's Club, looks pretty miserable, to be honest.
I'm supposed to be there. I'm going Thursday, and I looked at the weather forecast this morning. Thursday was nice, so I thought I was quite lucky with the weather forecast.
Maybe Thursday's all right, but Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday as well, according to my forecast, looks dodgy.
Wednesday, I'm on an outside gig at Hampton Court Palace watching Deacon Blue.
Are they still going?
Yep.
Deacon Blue, was that Real Gone Kid? Was that them?
Yep, Real Gone Kid. If you don't know Deacon Blue, Google Deacon Blue, put it on YouTube.
I've
Great
done
songs.
Well there.
Wages Day, Dignity.
Oh, yeah. I did really well there, Real Gone Kid. That must have been nestled in the back of my brain. It's probably taking up some space where some other tennis statistics ought to be. I've got stuff like that lodged in my brain that I don't really need.
And this is someone who doesn't like music. Doesn't like music.
I didn't say I didn't like music. I just said I don't like crooners, singers, bands. Yeah, that with a bit of oomph behind them. Yeah, no problem. But individual singers, nah, it's not for me. I'd have been no good in Vegas in the 50s and 60s or whatever. I'd have been bored rigid.
Yeah, you're not the Rat Pack kind of guy.
No. I do like them actually, but the sort of vibe. But the actual, I don't think I could sit down and listen to them singing. Frank Sinatra actually I quite like, so maybe I could. I could probably go that, but most singers, not for me. I'm surprised Deacon Blue are still going. They must be like 60 or something.
I think they're older than that.
It's just a bit old for a rock group, isn't it?
Well, the Rolling Stones are still going at 88.
It's not right though, is it? They can barely move.
You seen Mick Jagger? He's got the moves like Jagger.
Nah, it's just weird. I don't like it. No. I saw the Happy Monday. I've seen the Happy Mondays like a million times, and the last time I saw him, I was like, no more. Because it was horrendous. Bez with his maracas, he was struggling to shake them, and Sean Ryder can't remember any of the lyrics. No, not for me.
Well, I don't think many American watchers or subscribers would know who the Happy Mondays are. Another band you should Google, 90s band. I saw Liam Gallagher last night in concert. He was absolutely fantastic, and he's a year older than me, so
is he still doing that same shtick? Hands behind the back, long coat.
Yeah, and he had a hat on. And a duffel coat, and it was just watching every middle-aged man go there with a raincoat on, hood on, bit of a swagger. Everyone was exactly the same. It was quite funny to watch, but I watched it from a comfort of a luxury box, not in the mosh pit with it. Yeah. I was having some Pinot Grigio while Liam Gallagher was
very
doing
refined
stuff and prawn sandwiches. It was fantastic. Anyway, enough about our music taste. We want to be a rock and roll star. Enough about our music taste. Let's talk about the tennis. And as I said, it's been a complete washout, more or less for the whole day. A couple of these tournaments here. There's been a few bits of action in Stuttgart. S-Hertogenbosch has been a bit of a washout. We haven't really got many matches to talk about. Just 4, unfortunately, at this time of recording to be able to talk about. And the first match we're going to discuss is the match in Stuttgart between France's Tiafoe, who is the defending champion here, number 4 seed this time around, up against Yannick Hanfmann. Hanfmann beat a fellow German in Squire. Is it pronounced Squire? Is it Squire, or how would you pronounce it?
I'm not sure about the pronunciation on that one. The two. I watched a bit of that match against Hanfmann. One of the commentators was saying Squire, and the other one was saying Squire. Yeah. So I'm not going to venture an opinion on that.
Well, he's playing, he beat a fellow countryman, and now he's up against the American Tiafoe, who hasn't played since his second round exit at the French Open to Shapovalov. He has got some points to defend. Big Foe has not had a good year. It's been a disappointing year for him. He's dropping down the rankings alarming. He just might not even be, well, he'd probably be silly for Wimbledon, but if he doesn't put his socks up, he's going to be dropping out of the top 30. Down to 28. Yannick Hanfmann is up to 91. Hanfmann is a player that you probably would associate more on other surfaces, but a good win first time around. But he's come in really bad form. But the early money has come for Hanfmann here. He's currently available at plus 140 with Bet Rivers. Francis Tiafoe is minus 180. The spread is 1.5, minus 134 for Tiafoe, plus 102 for Hanfmann. Total games, very high. We said at Stuttgart are quite fast conditions. You're going to tell me about the trends before you go on to this bet here, but it's looking at the results, it's been a lot of high games. 23.5 here, and over and under both minus 114. Yeah,
loads of tie breaks already in Stuttgart. You do expect that. It averages 53% tie break matches, and just looking at the results we've had so far, there's another one just come in, another set one tie break on my screen there, Struff against Kaboli. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 set one tie breaks already in Stuttgart. From 11 matches so far. So those are the conditions. As I said on the Sunday show, it's the quickest of the year, apart on the main tour, apart from Turin. Tiafoe, I mean, he's just been a very hard guy to read. I mean, for me, it all goes back to this loss at the US Open that he had against Shelton last year in the quarterfinals when he was a top 10 player, favourite to get through to the semi-finals. Everyone talking about him as Grand Slam. Potentially Grand Slam finalist. Did he start to believe the hype, or did that match against Shelton, which he said in the aftermath of that match, he said he choked it a bit because he was expected to win and he couldn't handle it. Looking at his stats since that match, which remember was early September last year, 48% win rate, so he's winning less than 1 in 2 matches, and his service points won and return points won total is 99, and his hold and break total is 98. So these are not top 10 stats, and he's no longer a top 10 player. As you said, he's now down at 28, I think. He'll drop further if he doesn't defend the 250 points, or a chunk of the 250 points that he won last year for winning this title in Stuttgart. Now, if you compare that with Hanfmann in the last 12 months on all surfaces at main level, his service points won and return points won total is 98, so just 1 behind Tiafoe. So you can see why Hanfmann's perhaps been nibbled at, because the stats are similar from recent times at this level. So on recent form, it should be close. Both guys should be up for this. Tiafoe as defending champion, and Hanfmann playing at home at slight altitude. Remember, there's a bit of altitude here, getting on for 400 metres of altitude in Stuttgart, and Hanfmann always likes playing at altitude, generally on the clay, but he'll certainly take it on the grass as well. Looking at the stats, this just looks like a tie break, another set one tie break in the offing. Tiafoe held serve 93% of the time at this tournament last year, and only broke serve 12% of the time, playing a massive 0.6 tie breaks per set, which is huge by anybody's reckoning. And Hanfmann, his big serve, not huge, but big, decently big, and the altitude helps him here. So he's held serve 86% of the time in the 5 matches he's played here. He's already had a match, as you said, which I think is a plus when you are switching surfaces from clay to grass. You'd rather play someone like Hanfmann when you've had a match or so under your belt. Tiafoe hasn't had that luxury. So I think it all points to over 12.5 games in set 1, which is a plus 190 chance with Bet Rivers. I think that's the bet of the day.
I just give some sort of, when you gave the stats there, 7 of 11 of the matches so far have gone to a first set tiebreak. That equates to a 64% probability, which is a minus 162 chance.
Yep.
That's how the tournament's run. And that's a small sample, 11
Well,
matches,
I've got the stats for the last 5 editions. I think I mentioned them on Sunday's show. This is over 10.5. Over 10.5, 44% of the matches have gone over 10.5. So it's a trend that is going to keep on happening in Stuttgart, because it is quick.
Is the weather forecast good?
It's okay. It's Rosmalen weather's been the main problems. I think there's a bit of unsettled weather later in the week, but Tomorrow in Stuttgart looks the same as it's been the first couple of days. Not blindingly warm, but just solidly all right, and and more importantly, no rain is expected. So I'm told.
Yep. So that match, Tiafoe Hanfmann starts proceedings tomorrow at Stuttgart, 6:20 a.m. Eastern Time starts. So head across to the Bet Rivers website tonight.
Well, the schedule's out now, is it? Sorry, mate.
Yeah, I've just only seen it on the Bet Rivers website, so it's only just come through there. So 6:20 a.m. they're saying it, and then they're usually spot on when the schedules come out. So
the reason I say that. Sorry,
go on.
The reason I say that is Tiafoe's not a big morning fan. Like Bublik, he's not keen on these early starts. He's often quite grumpy, so perhaps that's why the money's come for Hanfmann. People know that.
Yeah, that'd be 12:20 local time, I think, over in Germany. I don't want to go to the website because every time I move my hands, Sean,
the mic's going to go off.
The computer, the mic goes off. So I'm just relying on the Bet Rivers website to be able to do that for me. So I'm keeping my hands firmly.
I'll have a look at the schedule because I'm not going to get cut off. So I'll have a look at the schedule.
Okay. Let's have a look at the next match in Stuttgart. And this is a man who doesn't like an early start, and I'm not quite sure where. We're quite interested to find out where this one goes. It's Medjedovic up against Bublik in Stuttgart. Bet Rivers have this at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. So that will be a local time of 1:30 in the afternoon, so Bublik might like that. They've only got two markets available in this match yet. They haven't got the spread yet. The Bublik is the favourite, -162. Medjedovic is +128. The total, again, is 23.5, with over -109, under -118. There is 24 other different markets available to have on this bet here. But Bublik here is the favourite. We don't, I don't know if this was good enough time for him. He's the number 3 seed here. This is his first match since losing against Struff. He hasn't played on the grass. He's got a good grass record, but he hasn't played on the grass. And Medjedovic come through against Marizan after losing in the first round at the French Open. Medjedovic is a player that offers a lot of potential. There's a lot of people talking him up at the start of the year. He hasn't really done what many of us, including myself, expected this season. But do you think he's got an opportunity here against an unmotivated Bublik? You never know with Bublik, do you?
Well, he should be keen on the grass season, Bublik. It's 50-50 on the clay. Yeah, he has actually, by and large, in all fairness to Bublik, he has shown an increased desire to compete this year in conditions that don't always favour him. He's played many matches where he's lost the first set and either come back to win or come back to make it very close. In the old days, if Bublik lost the first set, you could forget it. This is a 2:30 local time start, so that should be fine for Bublik. The Tiafoe match, by the way, is the second match on, so that'll probably be around about 12:30, 1 o'clock maybe local time. So that should be all right for Tiafoe. He should be awake by then, hopefully. But this match, Medjedovic versus Bublik, looks likely for tie breaks as well, without wishing to sound boring and kind of saying the same things. Medjedovic
the stats are clear. I mean, the stats are so clear that it's not boring. If it represents huge value, which it does, then we've got to keep. When you get opportunities like this before the market reforms, you've got to keep going, and that's what we've got to do. Yeah,
I mean, Bublik's a bit, he is a bit of guesswork. But just talking about Medjedovic, he's mainly plies his trade on clay. He's got a lot of power, biggish serve, big ground strokes, pace off both sides, mainly the forehand. He sent down 25 aces in that match you talked about against Marizan at a rate of 1.67 per game. That's some pretty hot serving, winning 83% of his first serve points, and he made a lot of them as well. He made 72% of his first serves on that day against Marizan. So if he serves like that again, given how Bublik serves, which I'll talk about in a second, tie breaks do look somewhat inevitable here. Bublik on grass in the last 12 months at main level, he's won 84% of his first serve points, and he's held serve 91% of the time. So if these two serve as they can, it looks another highly likely tie-break one. I would expect Bublik's unconventional and, let's be honest, somewhat unpredictable and at times bizarre style of play to really play havoc with the temperament of Medjedovic, because I think the one thing that's holding Medjedovic back is he does blow a gasket on a regular basis if things aren't going his way, or he feels like he's been aggrieved, a line call's not gone his way, or whatever it is, the conditions, he's not happy with this or that. He does have a bit of a Andrei Rublev style sort of temperament. So given how Bublik plays with all the drop shots and some of the fancy stuff, I can see Medjedovic potentially blowing a gasket. I would expect Bublik's greater grass court experience to tell here. Medjedovic hasn't played that many matches on grass, and I'm expecting a meltdown from one or the other of these two, probably Medjedovic, during this match. But it's another over 12.5 games in set one. That's a plus 210 chance with Bet Rivers.
That sounds a great price, that. I really like that. It's a brilliant price.
You never know with Bublik, though. The amount of times he loses the first set 6-2 and then wakes up and starts playing, it's a risk. But yeah, statistically, it makes sense. I slightly prefer the Tiafoe Hanfmann one for a couple of reasons, but this one is also highly likely to feature a tiebreak. If not the first set, then potentially the second or third.
We're talking about players in Tiafoe and Bublik who are more afternoon men than morning men. Shawnee Cap, are you a morning man or evening man?
For what activity?
Whatever activity takes your fancy, mate.
It could be different. I would say more of an afternoon or evening man. I'm not much of a morning person, to be honest. Depends what I'm doing though. If I can happily play paddle. We play paddle tennis at 9:30. Most Friday mornings. I'm quite happy to do that, but general run-of-the-mill stuff, I'm more of an afternoon and evening kind of person. Yeah.
I'm a morning man. This is a late show.
You're
for me,
up at like 6 a.m. though, aren't you? You're up at
earlier than that, mate. I'm up at about 4 o'clock. The dog jumps on my head at 5 o'clock. Wants to go to the toilet. I have to let the dog out, and then
you just shut the door?
I can't give it. No, because then you'll walk into a puddle. So I have to. The dog. I have to. And that's not from me. That's the dog. But I am much more of a morning man. Like to be up at my best morning. All the shows I like to do, I like to be done by 2 o'clock, and then in the evening I like to have my time. But definitely a morning man.
That's not happening today then, unfortunately.
Well, this is not so bad. I mean, it's 6:30. It's fine. 7:30, 8. No, I'm done with that. Okay, let's move on. The next match is an interesting one, actually. It's James Duckworth. He's a bit of a journeyman. A lot of people might not know the veteran, but always quite capable of performance on grass. He's always been there or thereabouts. I've watched him a few times at Wimbledon, the Queen's Club. He's always been a capable...
Beat Sam Querrey once at Wimbledon.
He beat... I think I mentioned the story before you. He beat Thomas Burditch. He lost to Thomas Burditch in a really, really tight match, and we bet him at Queen's Club a few years back. But me and my brother, 10 years ago, what's going to come on my Facebook today? 10 years ago today, we were at that match. But that's how long ago it was, and we bet him. And
he's been around a while, hasn't he?
Lost. He's been around it, but he can play. He can definitely play on grass, and he comes around this time of year. He's always a dangerous opposition in qualifying or first rounds. But he's up against Ben Shelton. Now, Ben Shelton is an interesting character. Have we seen the best of Ben Shelton? Have we got overhyped about how good this kid is? It hasn't really lived up to the expectations for me, but this is the time where he's got to shine on the grass courts. Shelton is a heavy favourite, minus 330 with Bet Rivers. Duckworth is plus 250. It's a 3.5 spread, minus 113 the pair. And also it's 22.5 the games at minus 113 the pair. These two have met once before. It was in a qualification in Adelaide in 2023, and Duckworth won 6-3, 7-6. Obviously, Ben Shelton is a very different player now to then. His serve is still the biggest weapon, I think, on the grass if he gets it right. But Duckworth's in good form here in Stuttgart. He's come through 2 qualification matches and had a very good first round win here. So I always like betting Duckworth, especially with the handicap or the spread on these grass court matches. Am I doing the right thing, or is Big Ben going to be too strong here?
I imagine Shelton will probably win this match eventually, but he's very inexperienced on grass, Shelton. Very inexperienced. Only played 5 matches at main level anyway. I'm not sure he's played too many more at other levels. I mean, he's obviously going to be a force on grass at some point, but at the minute he's very new to the surface. Anyone that watched him last year would have found him very, very hit and miss. He only won 40% of his matches last year. It's a very small sample size. His service points won and return points won total wasn't too bad, actually, 102, but it was all based around the serve, as you can imagine. Both of these guys on this surface at main level don't win too many return points. 33% Shelton, 34% Duckworth. So this will be a serve-dominated affair. Duckworth's got a reasonable record against left-handers, actually. He's won 6 of his last 11 completed matches at main level against left-handers. And as you said, he beat Shelton as a plus 140 underdog in quick conditions, like he'll have here, in Adelaide at the start of last season, which was only 2 weeks before Shelton broke through and made the Australian Open quarterfinals. So it wasn't a really inexperienced Shelton. It was a Shelton that was just about to make his breakthrough at a major. As you said, Duckworth has come through qualies, won 3 matches now, which should be a decent advantage against someone like Shelton, who's coming from the clay, and not a great clay swing, was it? Just looking at his results here, he did all right. Well, he won the title in Houston, but very different sort of clay that is to the European clay, and didn't really do anything after that on the red dirt. So for me, I think it's kind of, if you are betting in this match, it's worth having a little interest on Duckworth. I think maybe to win the first set. You'll get around plus 180, I think. I'm not sure we've got all the odds for these matches yet, but that'll be roughly the sort of price that it'll be. I would suspect if Shelton's going to win this match, he's probably going to have to do it the hard way. I can't see him just rocking up on the grass with so little experience and knocking off a player very experienced on this surface like Duckworth.
Yep, I think it's an interesting match. I think Duckworth is capable of beating anybody or making difficult for anybody. And I like that angle of going with the first set. Ben Shelton is obviously going to carry a lot of the American hopes. Remember, if you do have a bet tomorrow or this evening on the Bet Rivers app on these tennis matches over in Stuttgart, you can bet live and watch live on the Bet Rivers app. You better live stream the match of your choice, wherever you place your wager on your mobile phone, your tablet, or your laptop, or your computer at home for your home device. And it's an early start, around about 6 a.m. Eastern Time. These matches, check the Bet Rivers website for all the full details and of the timings and all the markets. They have 29 different markets available on all these different matches, and more to come as the evening progresses. We move away from Stuttgart, and we now travel not too far to s-Hertogenbosch over in the Netherlands, and we have a Dutch player playing here. We have Brouwer. Is it Brouwer? How do I pronounce this one?
I mean, I say Gijs Brouwer or Brouwer, but the Dutch people watching this show will probably tell me that's wrong.
I was on about Mannarino. No, I'm joking.
I must have said his name 1,000 times in my life. Mannarino. Yeah, I would go with Gijs Brouwer, but it could be Brouwer.
Gijs Brouwer. He plays Adrian Mannarino, our pick to win this at 25-1, who was very, very heavily supported after Sean gave the pick here on Sunday's show. Got down to about 14-1 very, very quickly. Hopefully some of you got on that big price.
That price Mannarino is insane. 25-1.
Mannarino's come through a battle today. Not impressive at all
certainly
today.
Has.
He come through. He's minus 182. To have a win here and progress through to the quarterfinal. Brouwer is plus 145, playing in front of his home support. The spread is 2.5, minus 113 each. You can go with Brouwer plus 2.5, Mannarino minus 2.5, and the total is 22.5. They have met once before. Now, don't cover your ears, Mannarino bettors, because this was the head-to-head. They met in the US Open in round 1 in 2022, and Brouwer won 6-3, 6-4, 6-4. Brouwer's had some injury problems over the last couple of years. He is in good form, come through 2 qualification matches and had a good win again today against Mensik. This might not be as easy as the odds suggest here. I know Mannarino is an improved player from the form he's shown on the clay swing to the grass swing, but what do you think about this one? Is the weather going to make any impact or anything like that? But I think this is quite a tricky little match for our man.
I think every match that Mannarino plays is tricky. I mean, he so rarely does things the easy way. People probably aren't going to believe me, but I did have a little bet on Mannarino when he was a set and 4-1 down, a set and double break down again today against Napolitano. Purely on the basis that
what price was that?
He was 33-1 in play.
Wow!
I only had a little bet on it. I'm not coming in here saying I've had a ton on it. It was just a little tiny bit of interest because I've seen this
33-1 winner. Doesn't matter if you have a little bit or a lot. You don't.
I've used all my luck upon that.
Don't happen daily unless it's in the Calvert house. Not many 33-1 winners.
I'm not putting much money on. I can only put little bets on me. I'm not allowed to put any more, unfortunately. But yeah, I mean, I've seen this before from Mannarino so many times. It just felt like it was a typical Mannarino match. I wasn't worried. I wasn't that worried at a set and 4-1 down because he does this all the time. Mannarino, he's a notoriously slow starter. He was playing poorly. He was overhitting mainly his forehand, but the backhand as well. Everything was going long. I think he was a bit annoyed at the fact that he was out on court 6, having been a former champion here, top 25 player, and because of the scheduling, I think he probably would have been on one of the bigger courts had it not rained all day yesterday. But he was on court 6. There was a problem there's been problems with the Hawkeye there at Rosemont as well at the match they did play yesterday, the Goffin match, was absolutely farcical. It was 30-mile-an-hour winds, a bit of rain. The Hawkeye wasn't working. So I think Mannarino was in a bit of a mood, but he had to come back, as I said, from a set and double breakdown to beat Napolitano. And against fellow left-handers, Mannarino's left-hander, Brouwer was a left-hander. Against fellow left-handers on grass at main level, Mannarino, he's 10-1 win-loss, but he's only won 3 of those 11 matches in straight sets. So he tends to have to come back in a lot of his matches because he's such a slow starter. Brouwer's been scrapping his way through in some quite low-quality matches in qualies, and his match against Mensik wasn't great either. Mensik never played a match on grass before, fell over. I think after about 3 games, Mensik fell over, had to have some medical attention, I think. And he's been injured as well. He's been struggling with injury. That probably didn't help him. But the thing that people will probably look at here is the thing that you mentioned when Brouwer beat Mannarino in straight sets at the US Open. But you have to take that match in a bit of context because Mannarino had only just won the title in Winston-Salem a couple of days earlier. So he didn't have a lot in the tank, and he had very little time to prepare for that match. So it perhaps wasn't a great surprise that Brouwer won that day. This time it might be the other way around. Brouwer spent almost 6 hours on court already getting to this stage. And I feel like this could be a case of Mannarino having to go the hard way again. Because as you said, he wasn't impressive at all against Napolitano. He was terrible for the first 2 sets. He wasn't brilliant in the last set, which he eventually won 6-2. But he improved. He's going to need to start a lot better than he normally does, or certainly a lot better than he did against Napolitano if he's going to win this easily. So I think if you're having a bet in this match, Mannarino to win it 2-1 at 3.75 plus 275 with Bet Rivers looks like the way to go.
Yeah, and then we've got a quarter-final. If we get through this match and the draw is opening up, if we get some tennis, the weather doesn't look that great, but hopefully we get a little bit of tennis.
Should be okay tomorrow.
Yeah. And Mannarino's carrying our hopes at 25-1. So we want him to progress, but maybe take him to progress 2-1. So there's the 4 matches. Unfortunately, we don't have many more matches because of the weather delay. We're limited to what we can speak about. But there's 4 matches there, 4 decent matches, and a couple of really nice bets. I love the angles of the tie breaks in Stuttgart. I mean, that is just a great bet. Minus 162 a tie break in set 1 on the statistics on this tournament so far. And was it 55% you say over 10.5 on the tournament over 5 years? That's got
44% over the last 5 editions have gone over 10.5.
Yeah, we've got to capitalise on that. Sean, give us your official plays.
So the official play, I'm going to take Tiafoe and Hanfmann over 12.5 games in set 1 plus 190, 2.9 with Bet Rivers. I think that's the one to be going on. Although the Medjedovic Bublik one is also of interest as well. But I'll just take the Tiafoe one, I think, at this time.
I think I'll be playing them all blind in Stuttgart tomorrow. Just go tie break all of them. Plus 250, plus 290. Just bet everyone and see if I can get 2 or 3 in.
It's decent, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's got to be the call. But the bang bet, Tiafoe, Hanfmann, over 12.5 games or a tie break in the first set. And that looks a cracking bet with the statistics. That's it for Betting Weekly Game Bet Match. We will be back again tomorrow. It's a huge week. Some of the content coming your way on the Betting Weekly studios on YouTube is absolutely insane. What a great some stuff coming for the Euro 2024 Soccer Championship, which starts on Friday. There's 6 shows breaking out now. We have one currently looking at the winner. I'm on that show, so don't let that put you off. Then we have some group matches. We have some specials, looking at the outright markets, looking at the top goal scorer, looking at the most assists. The handicapping team have done an unbelievable job, and make sure you watch those shows and subscribe to the show. If you're not subscribed, please hit that subscription button. It really means a lot to us to get that subscribers up. And give us a comment. The more comments we get, the more that we can get the views into the algorithms on YouTube, and it really helps with our reach that we can do. So any questions you have, a lot of people said some nice comments about me today, not really, on the football show. So give us a little comment there. As well as that, you can follow us on our socials at Because We Win on Instagram and on Twitter. Lots of exclusive content on the Instagram account as well, on the Euros as well. Some of the best handicappers from their countries are giving you how they feel that country is going to go through. So we have Daniele Ficichelli, Italian, giving his views on Italy. Rory Barlow, a journalist over in Spain, looking at the Spanish side. Really, really good content on there as well. And finally, download this podcast, Betting Weekly Game Bet Match, on your preferred podcast provider. So if you like tennis, you like soccer, and you like winning money, this is the place to be. Sean, bit late than never. And thank you very much for your time. Hopefully the rain eases off. Hopefully we can cash some tickets today and keep on that over trend, over 12.5s. Tie breaks in set 1. That's the angle over in Stuttgart. Okay, that's it for now. Speak to you tomorrow.